20 doctors tried everything to save a dying police officer, and failed. But when a shackled prisoner whispered the truth, the entire room froze. What he revealed not only exposed a deadly secret, but also pointed to the last person anyone expected. Do you want to know who it was? Stay with me till the end. The emergency room buzzed with voices, yet the air felt heavy. Bright white lights reflected off the steel instruments, making the scene almost blinding. The female police officer lay motionless, her skin pale and damp with sweat. Her uniform was torn, stained dark where blood had soaked through. 20 doctors surrounded her, moving frantically from machine to machine. They checked her pulse, adjusted monitors, whispered urgent medical terms. Each effort failed. Her breathing was shallow, her lips a fading blue. The sound of beeping machines echoed, each slower tone striking deeper fear. The doctors wiped sweat from their brows, frustration etched across their faces. One muttered under his breath, "We are losing her." The room froze for a heartbeat. Then the heavy door creaked open. 2 guards entered, pulling a shackled prisoner behind them. He was tall, with sharp eyes that seemed to scan every detail. The clinking of his chains broke the rhythm of the machines. The doctors did not notice him, focused only on their failing efforts. But the prisoner's gaze fixed on the officer's body. Something caught his attention. His eyes narrowed, and he leaned forward as far as the chains allowed. He whispered hoarsely, "You are looking in the wrong place." The guards tightened their grip, warning him to stay silent. Yet his stare did not waver. His voice rose, louder this time, "She is not dying from what you think. Look again, under her collar." The doctors exchanged quick, uncertain glances. One hesitated, then pulled at the torn fabric near her neck. The prisoner's jaw tightened. His words cut through the room, "You are missing what is right there." The fabric shifted, revealing something hidden against her skin. A mark. Faint, almost invisible under the blood. The doctor's hands trembled as he leaned closer. The prisoner's eyes gleamed with grim certainty. "Now," he said slowly, "do you see it?" The room fell silent. Every pair of eyes locked on the shocking discovery. The mark was not just a bruise. It was a perfect circle, etched with tiny lines spiraling inward. The doctors gasped, unsure if it was a wound or something else entirely. The prisoner tilted his head, his lips curling into a bitter half-smile. "She has been poisoned," he said, his voice calm yet chilling. "Not by blade, not by bullet. By something you cannot see unless you know where to look." One doctor whispered, "Poison?" "But all the scans, all the blood work." The prisoner shook his head. "Your machines do not catch this. It kills from the nerves, slowly, like fire crawling under the skin." The female officer twitched suddenly, her body arching as if jolted by an unseen force. A strangled gasp escaped her throat, the sound sharp and haunting. Her eyes flickered open for a second, wide with terror, then rolled back again. The monitor spiked, alarm screaming into the room. The prisoner stepped forward, chains rattling violently, forcing the guards to restrain him. "Do you want her to live?" he shouted. "Then listen to me." The lead doctor hesitated, sweat dripping from his temple. Every second stretched into eternity, the sound of the officer's failing heartbeat echoing like a drumbeat of doom. The prisoner's gaze was locked on the mark, as if it spoke to him alone. Finally, he whispered something that made the room shiver. "Oh, you will not save her with medicine." The doctor's hands froze midair. The prisoner's eyes burned with intensity. "She needs the same thing that once kept me alive, in that same poison cell." The guards exchanged nervous looks. The prisoner leaned closer, his voice dropping to a low, unsettling tone. "If you dare to trust me, I can show you." The doctor stared at him, torn between disbelief and desperation. The officer's body convulsed again, her breathing ragged, her pulse barely traceable. Time was running out. The lead doctor clenched his jaw, then signaled for the guards to release the prisoner's arms. The guards protested, but the urgency in the room drowned their voices. With a sharp nod, the doctor ordered, "Do it. Let him try." The prisoner's chains loosened, falling heavy against the floor. He stepped closer, his movements deliberate, his eyes never leaving the mark on her neck. He reached for a tray of instruments, ignoring the startled gasps from the medical team. His fingers hovered, then chose a small, sharp blade. The room was thick with silence, broken only by the officer's weak moans. The prisoner's voice was steady. The poison hides beneath the skin. If I cut here, and here. He pressed the blade lightly near the spiral mark, tracing its edges with unnerving precision. The doctors leaned in, holding their breath. Then, with one swift motion, he cut. A thin line of blackened blood seeped from the wound, darker than normal, almost tar-like. The smell hit instantly, sharp, metallic, and sickly sweet. One doctor gagged, covering his mouth. The prisoner's expression did not change. He prez. The word hung in the air like a blade. Every doctor froze. The guards tightened their grip on their weapons, their eyes darting between the officer and the prisoner. The prisoner's expression hardened, though a flicker of recognition passed through his gaze. The officer coughed, blood mixing with her breath, but her voice gained strength. You. I have seen you before. The prisoner leaned closer, his chains rattling softly, his voice low but steady. Yes. You have seen me, but not as you remember. Her trembling hand lifted weakly, pointing at him, her eyes wide with something between fear and rage. You were there, the night of the raid. The doctors exchanged confused looks, but the prisoner only sighed. His face twisted into a grim smile. And yet here I am, saving you. Strange, is it not? The officer tried to rise, but her body convulsed again, forcing her back onto the bed. The prisoner wiped the blackened blood from his blade, his voice cutting through the tension. They never told you the truth. They never told you who poisoned you. He looked up, his eyes burning as they swept across the room. It was not me. The officer's breathing quickened, her pupils dilating with fear. Then, who? She whispered. The prisoner's answer was cold, deliberate, and sent a shiver through everyone present. The same man who sent you to capture me. The room erupted in murmurs, the doctors exchanging startled glances. One of the guards stepped forward, his hand trembling on his holster. What are you talking about? He demanded. The prisoner's eyes flicked to him, sharp and unforgiving. You think you protect justice, but you serve his lies. The female officer gasped, trying to lift herself on shaking elbows. Her voice cracked, but her words were clear. Who is he? The prisoner crouched low, bringing his face level with hers. For a moment, the chains hanging from his wrists seemed more like trophies than restraints. His whisper was slow, deliberate, almost venomous. Your chief. The officer's eyes widened in disbelief. The guards froze, their loyalty suddenly clashing with doubt. The lead doctor looked pale, clutching the side of the bed as if the floor beneath him had shifted. The officer's lips quivered, struggling to form words. He sent me. The prisoner nodded once, his gaze unyielding. He wanted you silenced. You were close to uncovering him. And poison leaves fewer questions than bullets. A heavy silence settled over the room, broken only by the steady drip of dark blood from the officer's wound. The prisoner leaned back, his chains clattering, and his voice dropped into a chilling calm. Now tell me, officer, do you still think I am the enemy? Her chest rose and fell rapidly, every breath cutting like glass through her throat. The officers by the door shifted uneasily, their hands still on their weapons, but their eyes betrayed uncertainty. The female cop stared at the prisoner, her voice trembling. If what you say is true, then why save me? The prisoner's jaw tightened, his stare unblinking. Because you are not the one who belongs in the ground. He is. The lead doctor, still pressing gauze to her wound, whispered in disbelief. All this time, and none of us knew. The prisoner's lips curled into a bitter smile. That is how men like him survive. They hide behind uniforms and titles. They let men like me rot, while they drink from the shadows. The officer coughed again, crimson flecks staining her lips. Her hand shot out, gripping the prisoner's wrist with surprising strength. Her eyes locked on his, burning with both anger and desperate clarity. Then help me live. Help me expose him. The prisoner's face darkened. You asked me to trade chains for fire. You already did, she whispered. The room fell still. The guards exchanged looks, their loyalty splitting like glass under pressure. The prisoner leaned closer, his voice a low growl that only she could hear. If I do this, there is no turning back. Her reply came through clenched teeth, trembling yet resolute. Neither of us ever had the chance to turn back. For the first time, the prisoner's hardened expression cracked, just slightly. He nodded, slow and deliberate. And then, with eyes that glimmered with something between vengeance and purpose, he said. Then we burn him together. The doctors worked quickly, following the prisoner's precise instructions as the last of the poisoned blood was drawn from her body. The female officer's breathing steadied, her lips regaining a faint color. The room seemed to exhale with her, the relentless alarms finally falling silent. She turned her head slowly, her eyes finding the prisoner once more. There was no fear now, only a fragile, unspoken pact. The guard stood frozen, unsure whether to restrain him again or salute him for what he had done. The lead doctor cleared his throat, breaking the silence. She will live, but the poison will not be the last threat she faces. The prisoner gave a short, grim nod, his chains rattling softly as though reminding him of where he stood. He looked at her one final time, his voice steady and resolute. You have been given back your life. Do not waste it. The truth must come out, no matter the cost. Her hand gripped his wrist once more, weaker now, but filled with meaning. I will not stop, she whispered. Not until he falls. For a moment, their eyes locked, two enemies forged into reluctant allies by betrayal. The guards moved in, fastening the prisoner's chains tighter, pulling him back toward the door. He did not resist. As they dragged him away, he spoke without turning his head. When the time comes, you will know where to find